Well, hello there, my summer school superstars. It's a lot of S's, isn't it? This is Miss JB, also known as Miss Jean Baptiste. My teacher nickname, as you remember, is Miss JB. And I'm here to present a lesson to you that is based on this wonderful book, which is called I Don't Want to Be Big. It is written by Dev Petty, and the illustrator, the person who drew the pictures, his name is Mike Bolt. So before we get started, though, I would like to present some questions to you that you should keep in your mind while I read the book. Good readers like you ask questions before they read the book, during the book time, during the story, and sometimes after the story too. But this time we're going to ask questions before we read and then try to listen to the book and see if we can answer those questions while I'm reading. And then we'll write the answers down afterwards. All right, so as you can see on the board, happy July 8th. And I have written the book title down, I Don't Want to Be Big. And here are some standards, which fancy schmancy stuff. This basically just tells other teachers what I'm doing through this lesson. So that's for other teachers and other principals and whatnot. Now the questions that are for you are the following. Let's take a look. Who are the main characters? Who are the secondary characters? Main characters are the characters who the story is mostly about. Secondary characters, as you can see right here, secondary characters are characters who the story is not mostly about them, but they're characters who were in the story and helped to make the story too. But they're not as, we don't focus on them as much. So we want to know about the main characters, the characters who the story is mostly about, and the secondary characters who help make the story even more interesting. And number 3, what is the problem or the issue? Issue is a fancy word for problem. So what is the problem or the issue? And then finally, how does the young frog's opinion change? So we want to know, how does the young frog's opinion change from the beginning of the story, in the middle of the story, up until the end of the story? So without further ado, in other words, without having to wait anymore, let's get started. I don't want to be big. And by the way, this word right here, don't, is a contraction. It means do not. I don't want to be big. And you can see that little frog right here is crossing his arms. He's folding his arms across his chest. And so he doesn't want to be big. He's not happy about getting big, probably. Here we go. And you can see there's an elephant with his trunk, which is his long nose, who is measuring frog, who is this tall, according to elephant. All right. I don't want to be big. Let's look at these bubbles right here. These dialogue bubbles. In each bubble, you can see who is talking. So this bubble connects to this one, which means that the same person is saying this. And that means that it's him, who is most likely the dad. So let's get started. You need to eat your dinner. I don't want to. You don't want to grow. I don't want to be big. Why not? Well, First, you're 1 inch tall, and then 2 inches, then 3. When does it stop? You can't stay small forever. An ant stays small forever. So now you want to be an ant? Uh, uh, Not really. Take a look at that picture. You can see the ants are carrying away the spoon, and they're also in his soup bowl. Don't you want to be tall? I have you to be tall for me. You can just carry me around. That will work out great. Let's go over there. Now here, little to the left. Perfect. Don't you want to be able to jump high enough to meet the tree frogs? You can see all the tree frogs with their red eyes. Ribbit, 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 ribbit. I think I'm okay not meeting the tree frogs. What if there's something you want to reach? What are those? Cupcakes. I have big friends. What's so bad about being big anyway? If I grow big, I'll miss the leg room or hit my head on things. And do elephants win at hide and seek? Huh? Nope. You can see that's the elephant saying that. Nope. All I'll do is sit around being big. Are you sure you don't ever want to be big? I am so sure I don't want to be big that on a scale of 1 to 10, so from here to here, I'm here. In other words, he's showing a scale. So if he was not that sure, he'd probably be closer to 0. But he's saying he's so sure. He's not only just at a 10, he's an 11. That's how sure he is that he doesn't want to be tall. What's the trouble? I don't want to be big. Well, Frog, things just have a way of growing. And there are good things about growing too. You're closer to the sun? Actually, that has its drawbacks. You get to wear huge shoes. I'm a pig. I don't wear shoes. The best part is I get the biggest pool of mud and the biggest bucket of garbage. Is there anything good about being big that isn't about mud or garbage? Not really, but growing bigger doesn't mean you have to grow up. It doesn't? Nope. I've been thinking. You have? I think it will be okay to be big. So you'll eat your dinner? Sure. But I'm never taking a bath. And look, he's getting measured again. The end. But you can see on the back cover, it says, the little frog says, we're going to need a bigger book. Oh, that's a cute story. All right. So now that we're done reading this story, let's see if we can answer some of the questions that were here. Let's take a look. Number 1, who are the main characters? Who are the main characters in this book? In other words, who were the characters who the story was mostly about? Let's take a look. Let's look at our pages. Was the story mostly about the little frog? Yes. And was it mostly about the dad too? Yes, it was. Because the dad was trying to convince the kid that he should eat his dinner so he could grow big and tall. So he could be big. Now, let's keep going through the pages. The second question, by the way, is who are the secondary characters, not questions. This is the second question. Who are the secondary characters? So in other words, who are the characters who maybe were not the main characters, but they did have some kind of role or they did something in the book? So we know that Dad and Little Froggy, were the main characters. Let's keep going through the pages, yes? The tree frogs. Would you say that the tree frogs are main characters or secondary characters? In other words, was the story mostly about the tree frogs, or did we just talk about the tree frogs just for a little bit so they're secondary characters? You got it. They are secondary characters. We didn't talk about the tree frogs much, so they're secondary characters. They added to our story, but the story wasn't mostly about them. Oh, and I forgot to add, and they were so tiny I missed them. We could even say that the ants were secondary characters. We didn't talk about the ants much. We just saw that Dad asked him, do you want to be small like an ant? So let's keep going. Now let's go through our pages. Let's see, couldn't reach the cupcakes on the tree trunk right here, on the stump. It's actually a stump. But he got an elephant to do that for him. So is the elephant that's on this page and on this page, is he a secondary character or a main character? He's a secondary character. Just because we saw him on 2 pages doesn't mean that he's a main character. He's a secondary character. The story is not mostly about him. Let's keep going. How about the pig? He's on, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Is that just 3 pages? Nope. Even more. 4 pages? Does that mean that he is a secondary or main character? He's also a secondary character, believe it or not. Yes, he appeared on 4 pages, but was the story mostly about Pig, or was it mostly about Dad trying to get Froggy, his son, to eat and grow big? It was mostly about Dad trying to get Froggy to eat his dinner to get big. So the pig is even a secondary character. And let's write that down, by the way. Forgot we could write that down. So who are the main characters? Our main characters, and I'll go ahead and adjust the computer. Our main characters are Froggy. We'll call him Froggy. Froggy and his dad. Who are the secondary characters? Well, we just saw that. The secondary characters are Pig, Elephant, not to be confused with Piggy and Elephant from other books. Pig, Elephant, tree frogs. How about we say the tree frogs? The tree frogs. And the ants. Those were our secondary characters, meaning that the story wasn't focused on them. Most of the time was focused on Froggy and his dad. So let's look at our next question. Our next question is, what is the problem or issue? What is the problem in this book? Let's take a look. What's the problem? We could look at the first page and figure out what the problem is. And let's read again. You need to eat your dinner. I don't want to. You don't want to grow. So what's the problem? That's right. He doesn't want to get big. That is a problem. However, his dad said, the first thing he said is, you need to eat your dinner. I don't want to. Now that's a problem. So what is the problem? Let's take a look at the board again. What is the problem or issue? Number 3. Froggy does not want to eat his dinner because he does not want to be big. He does not want to be big. He does not want to eat his dinner because he does not want to be big. Now, the last question. How does the young frog's opinion change? How does the young frog's opinion change? Well, let's see. Let's go through the book and take a look. Well, in the beginning, remember that? Froggy. Look at him, arms crossed. Is he happy in the beginning? No. When you have your arms that are folded on your chest like this, and your eyebrows are like this, they come down, not up like you're happy, but down, and you've got your arms folded across your chest, you are not happy. So in the beginning, Froggy was not happy. Now let's see. Let's skip to the middle. Was he happy in the middle on this page when his dad said, "Are you sure you don't want to be big?" No, he's still not happy in the middle. He says, "I am so sure I don't want to be big that on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm here. I'm at an 11. In other words, I'm super, super sure I don't want to be big." So he was not happy, not even in the middle. Now let's go to the end of the book. Let's look at this page. Remember, and actually I'll show you the page before this. Remember, they all jumped into the mud. And then Frog said, "I've been thinking." "You have?" And then he says, "I think it'll be okay to be big." His dad says, "So you'll eat your dinner?" "Sure." Was Froggy happy? Look at his face. Was he happy at the end? He was. Look at that huge smile, and he's got his arms opened wide so he can hold that bowl of soup, and you can see insects in it. Insect soup, because frogs eat insects. And look at him at the end. Look at him eat. So this is what we're going to write. Let's take a look. How does the young frog's opinion change? How does it change? Well, I'll tell you how, and I'll write it down. In the beginning, he is upset. But at the end, he is happy. Because remember, he didn't want to be big in the beginning. He did not want to eat his dinner. And he told his dad, "I don't want to eat because I don't want to be big." But once he spoke to the pig, and the pig convinced him, that means the pig told him enough, spoke to him enough to let him think, to change his mind. Once the pig spoke to him about being big, Froggy wanted to be big, and he wanted to eat his dinner. So that is how the young frog's opinion changes in the story. In the beginning, he doesn't want to eat. Arms are crossed or folded across his chest. Eyebrows are low right above his eyes. And his face, it's angry. Go ahead and do that with me. Fold your arms across your chest just like this. Let your eyebrows come down, the angry face. Yeah, just like that. I want you to be able to see my arms too. And then at the end, his arms were open wide so he could get his soup, and his face had a smile, and his eyebrows were up. So that showed, the illustrator, Mike Bolt, showed us that he was ready to eat and ready to get big. Now, boys and girls, my summer school superstars, you guys did an awesome job of asking questions, answering those questions, and listening to the book so that you could answer those questions. You should be very, very proud of yourselves. As a matter of fact, do yourselves a favor, because it's always good to encourage yourself. Put your hands in the air, just one hand, super tall, and take that arm and fold it like this. So it's like this above your back, and give yourselves a pat on the back. A few pats on the back, because you are super readers, and you, my superstars, are awesome. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you next time, my summer school superstars. Take care.